Did you put anything else? Okay, we're on, Mayor.
Thank you. Let's call the meeting to order. Tuesday, the 22nd of February, 2005. This evening, we will have the invocation by Vice Mayor Linda Bell, followed with the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilwoman Amanda Garner. Would you all please stand?
It's comfortable for you.
Please pray with me. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you so much for this evening, this beautiful evening, Father, as we are about to conduct business. Help us to conduct that business, Father, as you would have us conduct it, full of wisdom and full of grace. We thank you for this evening and pray that you would bless it and your hands would be upon it. Thank you, Father. In your name we pray, Lord. Amen.
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 Please join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, and thank you, Councilwoman Garner.
You're welcome.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mrs. Bell here. Ms. Garner here. Mr. Hodge is absent. Mr. Losner
Here.
Mr. Porter
Here.
Mrs. Waldman is absent. Mayor Warren
Here. Any additions, deletions, or deferrals?
Yes, Mayor, we have 3 deferrals. 4E, the safety awards. Ms. Waldman is at another meeting, the Tourism Visitors Convention down at the airport, so she could not make it back in time. We also have 6B Bravo 1.
Is that 4E and 4F under Waldman?
4E and 4F. Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct. I'm sorry. 4E and 4F. And let me do 6A Alpha 2. That will be deferred till March 7th. And 6B as in Bravo 1 will be deferred till March 7th.
Thank you, sir. Special presentation. We have a presentation by the Community Outreach Division of the State Attorney's Office.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Madam Commissioners, members of the board, residents of the city of Homestead. My name is Ulysses Martinez. I'm here on behalf of Kathleen Fernandez Randall, the State Attorney's Office. I'm State Attorney. The reason of being here today is that I would like to provide you, as well to the citizens, with information about crime prevention programs and seminars that we provide to the community. These programs are provided upon request, whether they come from a commissioner, mayors, or any community leaders. Among those programs, we have child prevention, crime prevention regarding children, elderly, domestic violence, anything that has to do with the criminal justice. We believe in crime prevention than take the victim to the court. We would rather help them before than they become a victim. These programs are provided upon request. We only have one a mobile office that is for the use of the community. The statistics shows that 33% of all the cases that we receive, they're not getting to court for one or other reason, lack of cooperation from the victim. Because it could be because they're physically disabled, they don't have transportation. So based on that, what we did, we have a 33-feet bus, which is a mobile office. And when any situation like this is happening, what we do, we send an attorney, paralegal, and we go to the victim's house to take the deposition and follow up with the case. By doing this, we try to bring that percentage down and provide better service to the victims. There's going to be some flyers at the end of the exit. Anybody is more than welcome to give us a call. There's a number there that they can call us. And one more time, thank you very much for this opportunity, and we hope to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is a presentation, PowerPoint presentation, and presentation of a check to We Care. Councilman Losner.
Thank you, Mayor. Comitra, are you ready with the PowerPoint? Okay, well, Council, there's a PowerPoint presentation first to be given by the We Care organization, and then we'll return to our seats for another presentation.
Thank you very much. My name is Comitra Driver. I'm the Executive Director of We Care South Dade. On behalf of my board and staff, I'd like to thank you, Mayor Warren, council members, for allowing us to have an opportunity to present to you just a real short snapshot of We Care South Dade, and then also a brief overview of the program for which we're going to receive funds this evening. Our mission is to promote and advocate for the well-being of the South Dade community by addressing its critical issues and concerns through the collaborative efforts of We Care members. For more than 20 years, we've been a part of this community, and our partners include social service providers, government representatives, business owners, residents, local schools, school counselors, and anyone who is really interested in the communities of Homestead and Florida City. Our board of directors governs We Care, but they are elected by our members, so we truly are driven by the members, and the membership of the board is made up of individuals that have joined We Care. We started in the early 80s as a community organizing model that was developed by the public schools and law enforcement. Out of the 7 chapters that were started, the South End was the only chapter that remained. It was designed to bring together representatives from the social service agencies in an effort to network and share information. About 4 years ago, we decided that we had a great opportunity in the community to bring individuals together and really provoke change within Homestead and Florida City. So we began to move beyond being a community forum and began to look at how we can identify and mobilize and coordinate resources to bring to the community so we can better serve the families in this area. We also wanted to improve health outcomes, promote school success, and promote safe and supportive communities. And we thought that we could do that through the collaborative efforts of all of our members. Today, we're proud to say that we've been very successful at bringing individuals together within the community that really have a concern about Homestead and Florida City, the cities as a whole, as well as the residents that make up the cities. The way that we began to address the needs and move beyond just being a community forum was we decided instead of just coming together and talking about issues and then going back to our offices, let's begin to form action teams. And those action teams would be formed around critical issues. And each team would develop a mission, and then they would sit down, meet every month, and determine what the gaps were in the community. Then also develop strategies for meeting those gaps, and then implementing those gaps. So then that way we weren't just talking about a problem, we were actually doing something. So our very first action team was a mental health action team. And that was started about 2.5 years ago. And that group is focused on the community, the mental health of the community. It was actually born from complaints from counselors within our school systems that we needed a crisis stabilization unit within Homestead and Florida City to address the needs of children who were in crisis. A lot of the counselors were stating that they were experiencing, children as young as 6 years old with suicidal tendencies. They were very depressed, and they didn't know what to do with these children when they came to their office. So one of the things that team did was met with CHI and determined that, you have a facility down here on Maui, the Martin Luther King Clinic, can you help us? And they agreed that they would begin to develop a children's crisis stabilization unit here in this area. And right now, they are in the process of raising funds, and so we're looking at hopefully within the next year, year and a half, that we will have a facility that we can refer children who are in crisis right here locally within our community instead of them having to go all the way up north to Citrus Health. Another program of that team that we were really happy to bring into the community was a rape treatment center. Before, victims or survivors of sexual assault had to travel all the way up to Jackson Memorial once they were victimized. So we went to Jackson Memorial, explained to them that that is an unnecessary burden for anyone who has been a victim of such a violent crime. And we found that most of our clients were not going for the treatment, nor were they doing the follow-up treatment. So Jackson agreed to open up a rape treatment center at Jackson South. That was opened in October, and we're very thrilled about that because now individuals who are victims of sexual assault within our community don't have as far to go for treatment. Then they also don't have as far to go for follow-up care because the RTC has now developed a relationship with partners within We Care to where they refer the victims for additional follow-up. We formed a drug-free communities team that is made up of social service providers, students, and counselors and teachers. And that is just really to try to build a community of youth that are saying no to drugs, that are drug-free. We want to put out prevention and intervention efforts, and that was formed about a year and a half ago as well. And for the first year, we were awarded $100,000 from the Office of Juvenile Justice Prevention, and for the next 2 years, we will get additional $100,000 per year to support our efforts. And that money is shared among the partners to go out and do the prevention efforts. 3 years ago, we recognized that one thing that was missing from our coalition were residents, just individuals who lived in the community, the people that we were serving. So in an effort to engage them more in what was going on in the community and as well as We Care, we formed a group called We Count. And that group meets every month, and we're very excited about the things that they have done. We've seen residents that before weren't really involved in the school system, that really didn't care, people that really felt like that they didn't have a voice and what they had to say really didn't matter. We've kind of engaged them and empowered them to know you do have a voice, your voice does matter, and then we've also helped them to begin to express their thoughts and their opinions within the school system, within the community, to really try to get them to begin to take ownership for their community, take ownership for their lives and their children's lives. And so we've seen parents that are now more engaged with their children, that are going and getting involved in the schools, that are going to the schools and saying, look, would you please show me what my child's curriculum is? Can we do something about the bathrooms in the school, their horrible condition? So these families, these parents have really come together and as a group and started really working towards making their lives and their children's lives better. Before, it was more of the providers kind of telling them what they needed. Now they have a voice to tell us what they need and then how they want us to help them meet that need. We also started a neighborhood resource team 4 years ago, and that team was set up to specifically serve families and children. And we're pleased to say that within the last year and a half, that team has brought in $725,000 into the Homestead and Florida City area. That money was shared amongst 10 other partners that provide services after school and summer programs to children. Last summer, we served 350 children. This year, we're looking at, we'll probably serve a little bit more than that during the summer. We've also been running after-school programs at 7 different sites throughout Homestead and Florida City where we're serving about 360 children. And then in addition to that, we have other families that we've served throughout the year, children and families that come into our network through one of our partner agencies to receive assistance. So we're very excited about that because really that's what We Care is wanting to do. We're wanting to bring resources into the community and share it with our partners so they can provide the services that they're providing and not have to worry so much about how they're going to meet budget or not having staff to meet those needs. And lastly, we have a utilities action team. That started about 2 years ago, and it came from, we were having several partners that would report at our WeCare meetings that they were having clients come into the office saying, look, I can't pay my light bill and I don't have any place to go. The light bills, they're too high. Can you do something? Can you talk to the city and tell the city to lower the utility rate? We just can't afford it. We're going to have to move away. Don't know where we're going to go. And it was really out of a cry for help that we approached the city of Homestead, Ken Berger and city manager Kurt Ivey, and expressed the concerns and said, is there anything that the city can do to help us? We know you can't lower your utility rate, but we have some people that are in desperate need that can't make their utility bills, and they're going to have their lights cut off. So in 2003, the city partnered with us and gave us $20,000 towards our HELP program, and that's the Homestead Energy Lend a Hand program. And that program assisted about 190 families in the year in 2003. I must say that the $20,000 lasted us all of 6 weeks because it was just that much of a need. And we had some stringent guidelines that we put into place that I'm going to discuss a little bit later, because that's why we're here tonight. We're so thrilled that the city is again partnering with us and showing their commitment to the residents of this community by giving us another $20,000 to share with our partners to help the unfortunate within our community. The program is designed to assist individuals that, again, as I said, are having a challenge meeting their monthly bill. We want to keep people from getting their light bills, their lights turned off. We're focused with low-income families, and it's individuals that really have no other choice. So when they come in, we sit down with them, talk it through with them, find out what the problem is, and discover how we can assist them. And this is almost like a last resort. We don't want to use this money until we've exhausted other sources. The purpose, again, is to distribute grants to low-income customers who require emergency assistance to meet their basic energy needs. We don't help with deposits. We don't help to get their lights turned back on. Again, it's an emergency assistance program. Some of the benefits of HELP, it helps local agencies, because we do have some agencies that get dollars from other resources to provide utility assistance to families. But once those dollars run out, they don't have them any longer. So it offers them more flexibility to offer assistance to households that are in need. The initiation of this program will emphasize the Homestead Energy Services commitment to the community. We also know that the customer service reps will have the ability to offer a viable alternative to customers in need. When we started this program, the customer service reps, they were so pleased and so thankful to even know that there were resources out there, because they told us, when people come to us and tell us, look, I can't pay my bill, they have no place to refer them. So developing this partnership is also making it more helpful to the customer service reps to assist their clients. And then also, ultimately, to avoid customers having their services disconnected. Again, as I stated, it started in 2003, and we received $20,000 from the city of Homestead. Some of the requirements, and I'm sorry about the small font. Some of the requirements are they must be a Homestead Energy Services customer. They must provide proof of a low-income status, meaning a pay stub, a letter from an employer, some type of self-certification letter. They must not have received from us within 1 year. This is a one-time deal. They can only get it once per year. So if they've received if they received assistance from us within the previous 6 months, they will not be eligible until the next year at that time. They must document the need, meaning they need to come into our office with the bill from Homestead Energy stating that they're about to have their lights disconnected. And then lastly, the utility bill must be in their name. The other required documentation is identification. We want to make sure that the person's name on the bill is the person who's coming into our office. So we require some form of ID, whether it's a driver's license, social security card, birth certificate, something to verify who they are. Also, again, the income verification, and then the Homestead Energy bill statement. The procedures that we go through are very stringent. When they come into our office, that we immediately look at all their forms, make sure that they meet all the requirements, and then once they meet the requirements and we do the admission form, the center director is responsible for approving that voucher. Then the admission specialist will verify with Homestead Energy Services that this is the amount due. So we will actually call HES and ask on behalf of that client, what is the balance due? If the client's balance due is more than $200, because that's the maximum amount that we are allowed to assist them, then they must prove to us that they can make up the difference. So once they are able to prove that they can make up the difference, then we will issue a voucher to them that they must bring over to Homestead Energy, and at that point their bill will be credited. In addition, we submit monthly reports to Homestead Energy so that they will know exactly how many people we've served, and also as a backup so we can all make sure that we're on the same page. We issue individuals what we call a clearinghouse number. We actually have 5 different sites that are a part of this program, so they can an individual can go into any one of the sites to seeking assistance, and we will all follow the same procedures. So what happens is if they go into Project SOS, Project SOS will go through the process of completing the application form, and they will fax the information over to WeCare. WeCare will then go into our database and ensure that the person has not received help from us before, ensure that no one from that address had come in and received help from us before, and then also check with some of our other funding sources to make sure that the individual hasn't gone and received help from them as well. So once we've verified all of that, then we issue them a clearinghouse number and we pass it on to that agency. And lastly, just additional resources that we offer to the community and to you all as well. We brought social services directories here tonight. It's a listing of all the social service agencies within Homestead and Florida City that are here to assist individuals in need. We've also done a booklet called the Drug-Free Communities booklet, which is writings from individuals, from children and youth, telling us what they think about drugs and how drugs have affected their lives. And then we have an information referral line that's available as well for anyone who has any concerns needing to know where they can go for help. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner, if you'd come back up. And so many times from the dais we talk about what a giving community this is, and we recognize and reward service organizations and social service groups, and we are truly a giving community. And as Ms. Driver said, 2 years ago now, we started this program and took city money, and they're out of the utilities department, and there are several donors who on a monthly basis as a line item on their monthly utility bill have voluntarily agreed to donate to this program every month, and we hope that this program will also serve as a reminder that that option is available, and this truly helps the neediest in our community, and sometimes we lose sight of the fact, and so many times there are very young children involved in the households, and that's what's important. And we don't need to look at why can't their parents have power, but it's helping the future of this community. So, Kamitra, I want to present you with this year's installment of $20,000 to We Care South Aid for the City of Homestead. Program, and again, we commend you on the work that you do for us. You certainly are in that business that can better administer this program and have the people and the resources to do so. So again, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 3 is the presentation of a plaque to the South Florida Trail Riders, Homestead Rodeo Association, and Homestead Everglade Posse for their support of the Black Stallion Literacy Program. Vice Mayor Bell.
Thank you. Before I call these awardees up, I wanted to tell you a little bit about them and who they are and what they do, and about this very, very exciting program, and then I'm going to let them all speak. We're going to be honoring the South Florida Trail Riders, Homestead Rodeo Association, and Homestead Everglades Posse. And their main thrust is that it's very critical to reach children early with the vital skill of reading. The Black Stallion Literacy Project provides a unique approach to motivate children to read by connecting children with classic books. The Black Stallion series by Walter Farley and the Magic of Live Horses. First, the South Florida Trail Riders contributions. And Wendy Lewitt, by the way, is a member of my education committee and a teacher, and a very valued member. And since also I want to say, is anybody from my education committee here this evening? Anybody at all? Okay. I just wanted to mention that because they do such a great job on the committee, and I wanted to give them their honor as well. Now, the South Florida Trail Riders bring 3 to 4 horses to 5 local elementary schools to let the first grade students have their first touch and talk about the importance of reading. The students are each given a copy of A Little Black Pony, and teachers follow up by reading the book in the classroom during the month. The second touch is during the Homestead Rodeo, when the first graders from all 5 schools are invited to the rodeo grounds. The South Florida Trail Riders bring 40 horses and have centers set up so that the students can learn how to feed, groom, saddle, and even read to a horse. It is a fabulous program. The Homestead Everglades Posse's contributions. In the rodeo arena, the posse presents a program where they demonstrate barrel racing, horse gaits, and drill team styling. The Homestead Rodeo contributions, as you can see, this is a collaborative effort. They apply for a grant each year to make this project possible. They invite the students to the rodeo for the culminating activities. They provide snacks to the student at the rodeo. They provide a belt buckle gift to each student, and they also again, let the students have their time with the horses, which is just so, so valuable. And from South Florida Trail Riders, we have Wendy Lewitt and others. From Homestead Rodeo Association, we have President Walter Bryan and Nick Coffin. And Homestead's Everglades Posse, I have Natasha. So I'd like to call you guys up right now. I see Walter's not here, huh? Okay. Come on up. This is to the South Florida Trail Riders for your support of the Black Stallion Literacy Program. You know, this program has been going on for years, and I'm going to let them tell you how long it's been going on. And when I learned about the program, I thought, we have never, ever honored them for this wonderful program, and I thought now's the time to honor them. So for the South Florida Trail Riders, in appreciation from the City of Homestead. Thank you. Also in appreciation... to the Homestead Rodeo Association for your support of the Black Stallion Literacy Program. This is a program that motivates children to read. February 22nd, Mayor and Council, City of Homestead. And again, same plaque, but to the Homestead Everglades Posse. Thank you so much. You want to say something?
Well, on behalf of the Homestead Rodeo Association, I'd like to thank the city for their continued support for over 56 years, and we look forward for the future. And this program, we first saw, it's been around about 12 years, but we've only participated in the past 3. We saw this at the National Finals Rodeo Convention, and we saw it as an opportunity to serve the community. And once we came back and brought it to the community and the schools, to see the excitement on these kids' faces, to touch the horse for the first time and the excitement. The principal, I was there helping, and the principal said, you got to see this. And you look over here, and after the kids receive their book, after they touch the horse, they're in little groups helping each other to read. He says, we've never seen this before. We can teach them to read, but we can't motivate them. So that's what this program does. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm just going
going to show you, and I know that some of you can't see it or read it, but this is from one of the first grades that just had the activity this year. And I'm just going to quickly show you. All the children, they wrote these out, and these are first graders. And they have, and I lost one of them. And they have the pictures to go with them. This was the culminating activity. This was the second touch. And the children, they really did. They absolutely loved it. And I did have a video, but we do PowerPoints now, not video, so. But they really are. And just to tell you about the horses part, I'm the teacher and involved with the horses, so I see both sides of it. And if you saw how the children reacted to the horses, and the horses react to these children, it's absolute magic. We took some horses to West Homestead Elementary, and West Homestead Elementary has a very, very large ESE department there. And we allowed, even though we weren't supposed to, we allowed the ESE kids to come out. And one of the little girls was in a wheelchair, totally incapable of even holding herself up. And we couldn't put her on the grass, so we left her on the PE court, and we walked the horse up to the child. This horse immediately dropped his head down into her lap, held his head there. Even when she screeched, just absolutely screeched, for the first time she smiled. This was a child with a towel in her hand. I don't know, she was holding this towel and throwing it around the horse's head, and he stood there and allowed this to happen. And of course, every teacher, everybody who was there, the people from the Rodeo Association, we were all there crying, because there was this horse in this child's lap, and just that alone was worth it. Now we're going to see if the children were motivated, because this is the third year, and we're going to look for the FCAT, and I know you've all heard of that, the FCAT scores. These are the kids that were the first motivated. The motivation was the first year for them, so we're going to see what happens with that. And I really do think you all should get involved in it. You all should come out next year to the rodeo grounds, because it's quite a sight to see. Thanks.
Thank you.
As a member of the association, I would just like to say that these efforts could not be put on without the assistance of all the volunteers. None of these people get paid. They drag these horse trailers and these horses down there at their own expenses. The South Florida Trail Riders, the Homestead Everglades Posse, and all of our members. And without their effort, this program would not be happening here in Homestead. And hopefully that we can get more people involved in assisting and lending a hand doing this. And thank you all very much.
I've been told by the boss.
Is that anything new? Thank you.
I want to thank you for all you do. Really, it's a fabulous program. In fact, Patty and I, our assistant, were talking, we're like, we want to go to this next year. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Next is the presentation of the Office of the Month Award to Officer Blake Weaver. Councilman Porter.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, City Council, Mr. City Manager. I'm Lieutenant Tom Foglia. We have, of course, Chief Alamo, Captain Scott Kennedy, of course, Councilman Porter. This is Blake Weber and his wife Sheila, his daughter Kimmy, and boyfriend Lizandro is over here. Got most of the family. Sons, Blake is a canine officer with Miami-Dade Police Department who just received Officer of the Year recently, so quite a feat. But we're here to talk a little bit about Blake. Blake's been here 25 years, going way back when he was a detective with Captain Kennedy and I in the early 80s. And after that, he was in the canine unit for over a decade and a half. He's currently assigned to Patrol Division on midnights, but Captain Kennedy has a special assignment for him. He is plain clothes every night in a undercover car. And it's amazing with 25 years of service, the initiative that he puts into his job. He's out there doing surveillances every single night to protect your residential areas and business areas. It's just amazing the job that he does, and I'll give you a couple of examples. Back in December, we had two armed robberies happen in Homestead. One was an individual on a bicycle, two guys in a car, pistol whipped the individual. Later on, they tried to jump two girls in their vehicle, wound up shooting into the car. Very serious. They were able to get away. Of course, we have Blake out there undercover. He comes across the vehicle. He winds up finding the subject, attempts to pull them over, wind up having a chase. The subjects bail out. When Blake was actually able to apprehend the individuals, there was actually a total of 4, I believe in that. He found a loaded .45 caliber semi-automatic pistol inside the vehicle. He also found shell casings on the original scene that matched that weapon, and he also got, after having interviews with these individuals, he got full confessions on all of them. So that was quite a case. Another example, he was responding to a suspicious person call. This subject wound up fleeing from him in a vehicle. He had to utilize marked cars. Short chase occurred. This guy was very violent. He actually fought a lot of our officers. Again, Blake is the one who found him. He ran from Blake. We actually had to taser the individual several times. He was charged with burglary because he actually fled over a fence and under a building, battering on a law enforcement officer and fleeing a police officer. This is just a couple of examples. He recently got Officer of the Month for the same type of activity. He has found numerous burglary in progresses, has handled residential burglary areas where we've been getting hit hard, has found in progress burglaries. Just incredible. So after 25 years of service, he's still out there pounding the streets. So I know Captain Kennedy is very happy with him, and we're honored to have him our Officer of the Month for December 2004.
Well, I always get the really enjoyable part. Mayor and council, I want to just say it gives me great pleasure to stand up here and be the one to be able to recognize you, Officer Weber, for your services and all the other police officers that do the same. But I want to also be gracious to the business community that has stepped up to the plate and really been able to give us the ability to reward these outstanding officers for their above average service to the community. And I have a list of things that I'd like to just read in addition to the plaque. But what we'd like to say is that at this time, you've got, courtesy of the city attorney, I'm not going to read all the names on here, it's a $100 check. First National Bank of South Florida, $50 savings bond. TIB, Crum Avenue, $50 savings bond. A new contributor is Community Bank, $50 savings bond. Tony's Sub Shop and Grill is going to give you a meal of your choice. I'm sure they'll give you two, one for your wife. Ferguson's Jewelries, $75 gift certificate. Ruby Tuesdays, $50 gift certificate. Global Technologies Partner Incorporated, $50. Logo Store at Old Dixie Highway, $50 gift certificate. Paul Kruger from Evolution Web Incorporated, $25 gift certificate to Radio Shack. And another new contributor is Carl Pelton Sons. They're going to give you a $25 gift certificate towards an oil change. That's all in this little package. And I want to this is proof that the business community and the community at large is very, very grateful for what you guys do on a day-to-day basis, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Thank you, sir. Also, we've got this plaque that says, presented to Officer Blake Weber for being selected Officer of the Month for December 2004. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I know you all have a lot to accomplish tonight, but I'd like to say thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, Council. Still call you Chief. Do appreciate it, and thank the residents of Homestead, the businessmen, and thank you all for standing behind us. It means a lot to us, it really does. Thank you very much. Chief. Captain Kennedy's always saying that he's taught me everything he knows, but I still can't figure out how come I'm not a captain yet.
That's cute.
Thank you. Thanks again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman Porter. Presentation of a proclamation to the Homestead Junior Women's Club. Councilwoman Garner.
Thank you, Mayor. Can I have all the junior women's members come up here? We have about 40 or so members in our club, but after the rodeo dance, they want a break. This is our president, Wendy Hayes, and I'd like to present the proclamation to her, and I'll go ahead and read it. Whereas the Homestead Junior Women's Club was founded in February 1975 as a member of the Florida Federation of Women's Clubs for the betterment of our community and to help the less fortunate, and whereas the Homestead Junior Women's Club's mission statement is to promote civic and educational improvement and create a charitable and social fellowship within the club and community, and whereas the Homestead Junior Women's Club has been involved in numerous projects over the years, including scholarships, assistance to Special Olympics, child abuse prevention and treatment centers, the establishment of the Homestead Soup Kitchen, and the purchase of a canine dog in support of the Homestead Police Department. And whereas the Homestead Junior Women's Club will celebrate its 30th birthday on Saturday, February 26, 2004, therefore we, the Mayor and City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, do hereby proclaim Saturday, February 26, 2005, Homestead Junior Women's Club Day in Homestead. Thank you very much. I'd just like to thank the mayor and the council and the residents of the city of Homestead for having us here tonight and for the recognition, and to let you know that we are planning a reunion for our members to celebrate our 30-year history, and that's going to be coming up. And so we just invite anyone who's been a past member to help get the club where it is today, that you get in touch with myself or Amanda at Community Bank, and that way we can get you the information. We want to definitely recognize those people and just to say hi to our friends that we haven't seen in a while. So definitely want to say thank you for this recognition tonight, though. Thanks.
And thank you all, and continue the good work. Thank you, Councilwoman Garner. Consent agenda, is there a motion for approval?
I'll move it, Mayor.
Moved by the Vice Mayor, is there a second?
Pull one item, Mayor.
Second by Mr. Porter. We're going to remove one item.
I'd like to just bring up for conversation 5J.
So why don't you go ahead, Mr. Porter?
Well, I wanted to let the public know that the council has taken a position to put a mid-year adjustment to the police department in what will be in excess of about right at $800,000 for 9 new police officers, 1 correction officer, 1 dispatch, and 1 administrative assistant. So you've got basically a 12 addition to the police department because of the extremely rapid growth that we've been experiencing. And I know that in the committee of the whole, it had unanimous support from the council, and there was considerable support from the community that did attend that meeting. So, Mr. Manager, I know I'll turn anything over to you, but I just wanted the public to hear what we were able to do.
Well, again, Mr. Porter, Mayor and Council, you covered the volume of officers that we're hiring. That's a pretty good hire, 9 officers in the middle of the year. I think we did 6 at the beginning of the year. So we're responding to one of the major missions that we have for our community, and that's public safety. We have a lot of important activities, but public safety is really our number one cause out there to make sure our citizens are protected. As we know, we've had a lot of growth, and I think with this comes somewhat of a reorganization of how we patrol the city. Because of, one, the growth, and there's some, if you haven't noticed, if you haven't driven around and noticed, there's a little extra traffic as well that goes on, and it has cut down, it's increased the time that it takes officers to get from one side of the city to the other. So with this, it'll enable us to do 2 zones, Zone 1 and Zone 2, and then break those down into further subzones to provide coverage where on the east side of the highway, we can maintain a number of officers. On the west side of the highway, we'll maintain a number of officers, and that'll cut down our response time on both sides. So we're looking forward to that. This keeps our officers per thousand at approximately 2.2 officers per thousand, gives us a total of 89 sworn officers.
Well, let me just say that Mr. Mayor, I'd like to just say thanks to the chief, because I know from this dais on an ongoing basis, you and the rest of the council members have been asking the police department to come forward, and after numerous meetings and numerous debates on how we were going to approach it, this is what we came up with. And Chief, to you and Captain Kennedy and all your other captains, I want to thank you for working so hard on this. I know that the council's been asking, and you came through with something that works, and our challenges are still ahead of us as well. We know that. But mid-year, this is quite an accomplishment for you and your department, and I know these people will get out there and shine, as the rest of your officers do. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, thank you for support, and just let me publicly thank you for chairing public safety, taking the leadership on this, and certainly for you and the manager and chief role for being proactive and in a sense ahead of the game and providing good public safety services to the residents of Homestead. And I certainly, just the unique vision to set up these districts and these subzones, I think is going to be very, very effective. And I think traditionally we had a 2 or 3 minute response time, and I think with this new effort that we'll maintain that response time, Chief. So thank you all very much for your effort.
Thank you all. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Councilman Porter. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Public hearings, ordinance, land use item. Mr. Attorney?
Please be advised that the following items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to comment on any of these items, please indicate the item number you would like to address when the announcement regarding the quasi-judicial item is made. An opportunity for persons to speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and staff have made their presentations on each item. All testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you do not wish to either be cross-examined or sworn, your testimony will be given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the council to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. The full agenda package on each item is hereby entered into the record. Persons representing organizations must first present evidence of their authority to speak for the organization. Further details of the quasi-judicial procedures may be obtained from the clerk. In accordance with Code Section 2591, any lobbyist must register before addressing the council on any of the following items. At this time, council members must disclose any ex parte communications concerning any items on the agenda. At this time, the clerk will swear in any persons who wish to testify on any quasi-judicial item.
Will you stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. You may be seated.
I neglected to state on the record that Councilman Hodge did call. He's running late, but hope to get here very shortly. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, we have first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting preliminary plat approval, granting site plan approval, granting a variance from Section 30-752 of the City Code of Ordinances to allow groupings of townhomes to exceed 200 feet in length, 3 buildings to be 215 feet and 1 building to be 233 feet, granting a variance from Section 30-702 of the City Code to allow minimum front yard setback of 6 feet where 27 feet are required, granting a variance from Section 30-704 of the City Code to allow minimum rear yard setback of 15 feet where 27 feet is required, granting a variance from Section 30-678 of the City Code to allow a lot area of 1,708 square feet, where 1,800 square feet are required, for Town Gate North, 225 townhome units on approximately 22.36 acres of land in Sector 11 of the Villages of Homestead DRI Planned Unit Development, located north of Southeast 24th Street, east of Southeast 23rd Avenue, south of Southeast 16th Street, and west of Southeast 28th Avenue, as legally described in Exhibit A, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion for...
Move first reading, Mayor.
Move first reading by Councilman Porter. Is there a second?
Got to talk about it.
I'll second with a question.
Second by Councilwoman Garner.
I have a question there.
Councilman Garner, you want to ask your question?
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to just, the garages, do you have those are in the back of the unit?
Yes.
I like that. But I was wondering, I live in Center Gate, so this is connected to me. Are these people going to drive in off Palm Drive, go through a gate, and then go through another gate? Or is it just going to be the gate on Palm Drive?
Just one gate.
Okay, and are they going to be able to share their pool recreation center with other residents, or is that only for them?
Center Gate and this project will be able to share the pool facilities.
Oh, okay. Well, my neighbors will be happy.
Excuse me, may we also have your name for the record, please?
My name is Omar Armenteros. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Center Gate Construction. With me here tonight is Joe Joseph, one of the principals, and Associate Christine Peters. My address is 1950 Northwest 94th Avenue, Miami, Florida.
That was it, Mayor. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Bill?
Thank you. Charles, I noted when I was reading the minutes on this, and that this was already approved back in November, and we had to come back for another variance because they want 3 stories now. Would you give me the background on this and also the reason for the variances?
This project has been approved previously by both Planning and Zoning Board and Council. It incorporates a lot of urban design styles with the alleyways and the parking in the rear, and kind of moving the front steps and front porches, if you will, to the curb, and has a lot of parallel parking and different open areas in it. To accommodate that, there were variances granted. As you know, last year the council approved bringing on board an urban designer as a consultant who can grant variances administratively to get to these ends. That doesn't take place in the development of regional impact in the Village of Homestead DRI, because there's some vested rights issues there. So the developer of this chose to follow those guidelines, but the only way to accommodate that is through the traditional variance process, and that's what we're going through now. Originally, they had anticipated on doing 2 stories, but wanted to offer the 3rd story. The requirements of setbacks for a 2-story are 25 feet. If you go above 2 stories, it's 27 feet. So that's why they had to come back in, because they did in fact sell some, or get some orders for some 3 stories, so they wanted to come back in and change it to add that 3rd story on, and they have to change the variances as requested.
If they're going to, how are they going to accommodate for the garage in the rear with the variance on the backyard as well? Is it part of the structure itself?
Yeah, it's part of the structure.
So then it's not included in the setback then?
No, and there's things in the rear setback, that kind of structure, such as a little house to hold their super cans and those items. So
then it was removed from the front to be put towards the back?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. So they do have most of them front on Boulevard, and then in the rear they'll have a small one-way alley to go in and out of, and that's where the services will be, the garbage and things like that picked up. Some of them front just on parks with service to the rear through an alley. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Losner?
Thank you. Charles, let me understand this. When they were 2 stories, well, I guess let me ask this in reverse. Are the setbacks requested any different from what was previously approved? No. I understand that with the 3rd story, the required setback widens, but they're not requesting any less setback now. And right. I just have a real problem with this. 75% reduction in the front, 50% reduction in the back, and I'm all for garages in the back and urban designs, but I mean, is the entire front 6 feet, or is it just a piece of the front? what's the
The
configuration?
majority of the front.
Majority of the
Yes,
front?
yeah. It fronts on a street with
You know, if we're
sidewalks.
going to grant this, I don't know why we have any setbacks or have any hearings. It just seems like the door's open for the Wild West to do whatever. It's just, it's too much. We're reducing everything. Lot sizes substantially. I mean, only 1,800s are required, and we're down to 17, almost 1,700, and 75% reduction in the front. Again, to be real clear, I've always been at the head of the line for supporting urban design guidelines, but to me, this is overkill. It's just egregious. You know where I am on this. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Laws. Any other comments?
Yeah, I did.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Also, in the reading, and I already flipped it back over, but one of the things I noticed, and I wanted to kind of bring it up, is aesthetics. I mean, we talked about approval of the proposed variances, and it says reason. The variance request to not generate excessive noise or traffic, create a hazard, provoke excessive overcrowding, or endanger the health and safety. But what about aesthetics? When you've gone from a very normal-looking setback to such a small setback, I'm concerned about the aesthetics. I do like the front porch, and I like the garage in the rear. I think that's wonderful. But what I'm saying is, why can't we use our urban design guidelines with the current code that we have in existence without variances? I think that we can still have urban design guidelines without giving up so much space. I don't understand why in other words, we're so willing to accept it and to adopt it because it is urban design guidelines, and then we're willing to forego what we consider to be an appropriate setback in the front and the rear, and it's also the lot size. I think we can have it both ways, and I think part of the council's problem is maybe we haven't been asking for it both ways, and we can and we should.
One of the things that the setbacks gives this property is a tremendous amount of green space internally that is just open areas, and I don't know if you can see it. I can't really see it from where I'm sitting. But Omar, I don't know if you want to touch on that a little bit. You designed it, so.
Wait, excuse me, Mr. Longterm, hold on just 1 minute, okay?
Hello. Can you hear me? Yeah. The site comprises of a lot of green areas, primarily here, and we have more than the requirement as far as green areas go. The reason for the setbacks on the front is that the parking spaces are at the rear of the units. We went through an extreme amount of cooperation with the urban design planner of the city. Basically, months of work. This plan was done over and over and over until he was satisfied that it met the urban design criteria that the city was looking for. And we came before, I believe, a similar board before. I'm sure we have some new members. And everyone was very much for this plan. We haven't added any units. The only thing we're here for tonight is to allow for the third-story loft, which happens on about 16 of the lots within the community. So the reason we're here is not to overdo anything. We're just trying to get 16 of these lots that people wanted the third-story loft approved. That's it.
Any other questions for open up for public hearing from the council?
Can I ask a question?
Mr. Porter?
Charles, if, in a conventional setback, you would lose a lot of the amenities that are being created in this. The number of units would have to drastically be decreased, right?
That is correct. Again, there's a provision for on-street parallel parking. There's the provisions for open space, and we looked at some that, as well as just the design of it, is some trade-off. We wanted to see this type of development come in. This is really the first one of its type in the city, from an applicant that really doesn't have to do it. And so that's what we looked at with the open space that's in there and some of the wider streets, because you got to realize they're putting in double streets. They're putting in a street that everybody fronts, and then behind they're putting an alleyway, and as well where all the service is going to go through. So that is property that actually would be part of the lots if it weren't there.
So instead of each property owner getting a little bit more of a yard in front or on the back, it's given up and put back into the open green spaces more so than just roads?
The open green spaces and the alleyways, yes, both.
Sorry?
Open green spaces and alleyways.
And the alleyways?
Yeah, there are some units that actually just front on the parks, and you reach in front of them through a kind of like a square, a community square atmosphere.
Do you have an idea of what the price structure of these units would be?
Yes. Jerry, you want to talk about this?
I mean, I'm not going to hold you to it. I just get an idea.
Yes, my name is Jerry Joseph, and I'm the president of South Kendall Construction. The price range will be around from $175,000 to $250,000. The square footage goes from about 1,400 square feet to about 2,000 square feet.
That's nice.
That's all, Mayor. Thank you.
Some of the amenities that was talked about, I read here about a community recreation center. You mentioned a pool. What are some of the others? And in terms of the open space, what amount in acreage? Or
let me look for that. They can touch on the amenities while I look for that.
Out of the 22.49 acres, what amount is green space?
I can answer that.
You got that one?
The required amount of open space is 6.75 acres. We're providing 7.11 acres. It's required that you provide 30% open space. We're providing 31.6 open space. I'd also like to mention that the average lot size is actually 2,215 square feet, where 1,800 is required. Our minimum lot size is 763 square feet, but that's a couple of lots. The majority of them, the average is 2,215.
Can I ask a question?
Vice Mayor?
That's interesting. How many actually do you want to be in the minimum? Because that's important to know.
Or how many meet code?
Approximately.
I'm not sure. I don't have that data in my head.
The majority?
I don't have that. But I can tell you that we're not here asking for a reduction or anything as far as that goes. We already approved that 1,700 number. The only thing that we're here for tonight is to allow third story to be built on approximately 16 of these lots, and to reconfigure the variance from 25 feet down to 6 in the front, and then from 25 to 27 feet in the back. Because of a third story, you have to have 27 feet instead of 25, which we were approved for previously.
And I do appreciate how beautiful the design guidelines are, the garages in the back, front porches, the alleyway. I think that is really, really fabulous. And I know that's how Charles sold me on it last time. Charles and I had a long discussion about this. But I really have to weigh it out. I know you've already been here before, and I know that we're being a bit redundant, and I apologize for that.
If I may, I don't know if you remember, but the question was asked whether or not we needed a third story.
Right.
And we went back and forth. We had an issue where there was confusion, there was doubt as to whether we would need a variance to go above a 35-foot height limitation. We later found out that we did not need that variance. We're within the height limitation. So, there's a demand out there for people who wanted the loft on the third floor, and developers decided to come back.
And I absolutely don't have a problem with the third floor. It was just that it always appears that with variances, even with the design guidelines, go ahead, Tom.
I was just going to say there's 54 units, 54 lots under 1,800 square feet.
So out of the total 225, 54 of them. 25%. They're 25%.
And some of them are 1,787 and change, but it's 54 total, under 1,800.
Okay. It's tough. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Mr. Losner?
One final question to the applicant, kind of as an aside. Have the third floor units already been advertised and sold?
Yes.
Okay, just so we know that you're selling units that have not yet really, I guess, been approved.
I guess that's true.
Enough said.
Thank you, Mr. Losner. This is a public hearing, the first reading. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? Give us your name and address for the record.
Susan Newman, 2835 Fairways Drive. Amanda, you had mentioned a question to the developer about the pool. I would like a clarification of that because I think he answered it incorrectly, or I misunderstood incorrectly. I just want to make sure it gets cleared up. Your question was whether or not the condos would be allowed to use.
The surrounding condos would be allowed to use that.
And I don't think that's true.
It is true. Town Gate, which is the condominium that we built prior to that, and Arbor Park will be allowed to use that pool.
That doesn't include Centergate. I was including Centergate.
She was asking about. It does not include Centergate condos.
It does not include the Centergate condos.
Thank you, Susan.
Any other comments from the audience? Any other comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Hodge?
Yes.
Mr. Losner?
No.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mrs. Bell?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Item number 2 has been deferred, Mr. Mayor. Next, we have a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting preliminary plat and site plan approval for Pod H Corsica at Oasis. 79 single-family units on approximately 23.08 acres of land in the Oasis Plan Unit development located in the center of the Oasis Pod, west of Southwest 147th Avenue, north of Southwest 328th Street, and south of the C-103 Canal, as legally described in Exhibit A, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion for approval?
I'll move it, Mayor.
Moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hodge. Any initial comments from council?
Just comment, Mayor. I just wanted to point out that 90 units were permitted in the plan, and they're only asking for 79 units.
Right.
Which is unusual. We like that.
Mayor.
Yes. Vice Mayor?
Yes, I also noted that, and this looks like a really nice project, so I think it's absolutely.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Any other comments from council? If not, I'll open the public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council?
One final comment.
Mr. Porter?
Mr. Coker, what's the timeline on this project? Do you have any idea?
Dick Coker, representing the applicant. All of these pods are being approved right now. It's underway. It's a matter of permitting and the completion of land development. I believe you're going to see the first houses, the first foundations come back after the plans come back from Dade County, probably the next 5 months.
Do you know offhand what the price structure would be of these?
Yes.
This pod will go between $300 and $350. This is a Lennar single-family home project.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Any other final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Hodge?
Yes.
Mr. Losner?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mrs. Bell?
Yes.
Ms. Garner?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Next is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting preliminary plat and site plan approval for Pod M, Emilio's Place at Oasis, 143 single-family units on approximately 18.77 acres of land in the Oasis Planned Unit Development, located in the northeast corner of the Oasis PUD, west of Southwest 147th Avenue, north of Southwest 320th Street, Maury Drive, and south of the C-103 Canal, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion for approval?
Move adoption, Mayor.
Move adoption by Councilman Porter. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hodge. Any initial comments from council? Any
Mayor.
initial comments?
Just want
Ms. Garner?
to point out again, this was allowed 160 units. Amazingly, they're only asking for 143.
Thank you, Ms. Garner. I'll open up the public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? I hear none. I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council?
Question from council.
Mr. Losner.
I noticed that the cluster units are on 3,600 square foot lots. Does that mean that each lot only has frontage of 36 feet?
Yes, sir. I believe some of them, just due to the configuration, have a little bit more than that, but average is 36, yes.
40 feet or less.
That's correct. That is correct.
My perception is then that's not really been a popular, or worked out real well in some of the existing pods north of Campbell, that it's just not on par with most of the rest of the development. And,
they have...
Again, to me, frontage is a quality of life issue.
That's true. When the minimum lot size is 3,600 square feet. We'd like them to have more frontage, but they have changed some of the models from what you had seen north of Campbell Drive. They've mixed those around. They've altered those. This is a different style. It's a Key West style, but they've changed the layout. You know, even though the facades might be either Mediterranean or Key West style or Bahamian style or whatever, generally it's the same box, but they have flipped some of this around to offer a little bit difference.
I'll piggyback on Mr. Porter's question from the last hearing. Mr. Coker, the price ranges, and do we have any, typical renderings as of what a unit may look like as we did on the last hearing?
The renderings, I'm sorry, the elevations of the units are in the package. We don't have a rendering of this unit. These are in the low twos to mid twos. The next one, the next pod is 4,000 square foot lots. Those are between 250 and 300.
Thank you, Mr. Coker.
Mr. Porter?
Mr. Coker, this planned development has a series of homes of varieties of prices.
Exactly.
The concern, the values of these homes, I don't know how the average person, when we're trying to build a community where all walks of life can come in here and live in a house, or at least try to live in a home, it's kind of incredible when you sit here and you talk about the minimum value of a home being $185, $225, $295, and they're obviously there's got to be some quality going into the home, maybe not so much into the lot, and they're selling, correct?
Oh, yes. They're selling, with the interest rates, you can move into a home like this with fixed extras about $250,000 with a mortgage payment in the $1,500, $1,600, including the taxes and insurance. People can afford that. Families can afford that. And also, as you mentioned, Councilman, this is a varied community with a wide range of uses. Today we're focusing on 3 single-family pods, but it also has some multifamily and townhouse pods with lower values, lower costs, and smaller square footages, so people can, at every entry level into a price range, can find a product in these PUDs, and that's what they do. And they provide the common amenities, walkways, the parks around the lakes, the big clubhouses that are common to all of them. But they do provide a unit for just about every way of life.
Well, that's where I can give my support for projects like this, because it does give a variety of product for people to be able to come in and choose from. Not everyone can afford. I'd love to be able to have 5 acres in the Redlands, but I can't afford it. I'd love to have an acre in the Redlands, but I can't afford it. So it's a situation where I just like to, I want everyone to recognize that these pods, although they're being dealt with individually, they're part of a holistic project that has $400,000 plus product down to $180,000, $200,000 product, and so it's not just an area where you've crammed a bunch of houses in. I don't see it that way, and it's just, obviously opinions are, we all have our feelings about this, but one of the things that gives me the ability to support these types of PUDs is it gives product availability to a wide variety of consumer, and it allows us hopefully to attract quality citizens would want to come and live in Homestead, and having more choice is why I can support something like this. In a case where maybe I don't have the money to put down a large footprint as far as land is concerned, I'd rather put the money into the house itself. So I know there's the debate is out there about the size of the land that it sits on, but we've got to be able to provide a product. My feeling is these types of PUDs give us the flexibility to attract a lot of different types of income level people into this community.
And they do, Councilman Porter, they provide that wide range of housing opportunities, and as we discussed at almost every PUD approval, there's a trade-off between the size of the lots and the common open space that's available. That's the trade-off that people make in a PUD. You have smaller lots generally, but you have more usable common open space, and the public has generally spoken on that. They would rather have a smaller lot and more recreational and open space and large lakes and walking paths and things of that nature.
I thank you. I relish everyone's opinion on this, and I can support it because of the issues that we just talked about. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Any other comments from council?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Losner?
One quick question, just so we know, and I can't put my finger on here in the package, the range of sizes of the units in this particular pod.
Just a second, I didn't have it written down. Its total gross is between 1,800 and 2,300 square feet.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Losner?
No.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mrs. Bell?
Yes.
Ms. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Hodge?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Next is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting preliminary plat and site plan approval for Pod N, Valley at Oasis, 140 single-family units on approximately 24.23 acres of land in the Oasis Planned Unit Development, located in the northeast corner of the Oasis PUD, west of Southwest 147th Avenue, north of Southwest 320th Street, Maui Drive, and south of the C-103 Canal as legally described in Exhibit A, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion for approval?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Hodge, second by Councilman Porter. Any initial comments from council?
One question, Mayor.
One question, Mr. Porter.
Mr. Coker or whomever, this particular drawing into this PUD shows the backside of canal, and you have one major entrance in and one entrance and one exit out.
Yes.
Is that going to eventually tie into some more infrastructure?
This
Top right.
Top right.
Top right, I think. There.
Yes. Actually, the only way in and out, right here, is in fact this roadway. It goes into, this is 142nd. This is the relocated Mallory here, as you recall from last week's discussion. So it's a major intersection here. We had a lot of discussion there. Major intersection here, but this is the roadway that all four of these pods enter and exit on. Right here.
So I'm sorry, were you through?
Yes.
I apologize. So the future does not, at this particular point in time, give any other way out?
No, and that's planned that way. It's on purpose, because it's a controlled entry here.
And the road going in is 4-laned? I can't remember. I'm just concerned because of the the ability to get in and out of the project.
There's a guardhouse here. See, the way the Renaissance project works is from 142nd East, there's a guardhouse at the entry here, and this is a controlled entry for just these three pods. And same with everything to the west. But between 142nd and 152nd, this is open to the public, and the guarded entrances are in each of the pods. So this T here is an open to the public access. These are controlled access. And they've been designed, approved by your fire department, plenty of access availability.
Okay. You've answered my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Any other comments from council? Well, I'll open the public hearing. Any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mrs. Bell? Yes. Ms. Gardner? Yes. Mr. Hodge?
Yes.
Mr. Losner?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's less than 6.
That concludes the quasi-judicial agenda, Mr. Mayor. And under legislative items, number 1 has been deferred to your next meeting.
Ready for number 2?
2.
An ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the city code by amending Chapter 2 Administration at Article 8 Contracts and Purchasing at Division 2 Competitive Bids by amending Section 2-411 Purchasing Limitations to increase dollar amount limit thresholds before competitive purchasing procedures are applicable, enhancing the city manager's authority to make purchases of supplies, materials, equipment, improvements, or services before city council approval is required, and clarifying and revising local preference provisions and amending Section 2-412 Notice of Bid to increase dollar threshold before competitive bid procedures are applicable. Amending Section 2413 Emergency Purchases to clarify and revise existing provisions to increase the dollar limit for bidding and purchasing authority exemption applicable to emergency purchases for water, sewer, electric utility purchases, and to include purchases for the city solid waste service enterprise within such exemption. To create such an exemption up to a specific dollar limit for emergency purchases which are necessary for the furnishing of other city services, for the performance of other city functions or responsibilities, providing for severability, inclusion in the code, and effective date. This is a second reading and public hearing.
Second reading, Mayor.
Move second reading by Councilman Porter, second by Vice Mayor Bell.
One comment.
Comment, Mr. Porter?
This is an ordinance, Mr. Manager, we brought this up the last time, an ordinance that this council gives you the authority to go beyond the previous threshold, but any previous council can take this ordinance and remove this ordinance just as easily as we put this ordinance in place.
No, that's correct.
So in the case of where there may be a future manager that is not so recognizable as being of your stature, it is not locking any future council into any position.
No, this ordinance can be amended at any time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Mayor, I'd like to, maybe this would be the appropriate time that one of these emergency purchases was approved by me at the McMinn substation that electric utilities, I'm informing them under the old, but at this time, but it was $48,000 under an emergency repair needed to be made at McMinn substation. I would tell you the piece of equipment, but it's not going to be descriptive enough. It's called a pothead over there. So, but This had happened, I do want to be within the old ordinance to tell you in time as well that this expenditure was approved under the emergency, and they're working on it right now. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. It's very timely and appropriate. All right. Good. Any other initial comments from council before I open up the public hearing? Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? Any final comments from council? I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mrs. Bell?
Yes.
Ms. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Hodge?
Yes.
Mr. Losner?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
First item under resolutions is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, with attachment designating a geographic area within the City of Homestead as a brownfield area, also known as the Brownfield Redevelopment Zone, for purposes of environmental remediation, rehabilitation, economic redevelopment, directing the city manager to notify the Florida Department of Environmental Protection of said designation and providing for an effective date. This is a public hearing, and I think Mr. Stouts has some comments that he'd like to place on the record prior to opening it up to the public.
Let me get a motion, Mr.
I'll move it.
Moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hodge. Mr. Stouts?
Yes, the public hearing will be conducted by Ms. Sophia Belair from our staff.
Sophia Belair, CRA Grant Specialist and Future Coordinator of the Brownfield Redevelopment Zone Program. This public hearing is conducted in accordance with Florida statute, and notice of this hearing has been given in accordance with Florida statute. A resolution to designate a Homestead Brownfield Redevelopment Zone is before the City Council for approval tonight. The caption of the resolution states, "A resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, with attachment designating a geographic area within the City of Homestead as a brownfield area, also known as a Brownfield Redevelopment Zone, for the purpose of environmental remediation, rehabilitation, and economic redevelopment, directing the city manager to notify the Florida Department of Environmental Protection of said designation and providing for an effective date." The city proposes to designate the entire Homestead Community Redevelopment Area a Brownfield Redevelopment Zone. This boundary is generally bound by US 1 to the east, Lucy Drive to the south, Redland Road to the west, and Northeast 9th Court to the north. The City of Homestead decided to identify the CRA as a Brownfield Redevelopment Zone to encourage environmental cleanup, rehabilitation, and economic development within the areas of Homestead presumed to be complicated by the presence or potential presence of contaminants. The Brownfield program is designed to empower the community and stakeholders in economic redevelopment to work together to assess, safely clean up, and reuse brownfields. Miami-Dade County has 10 designated brownfield areas. The City of Miami, City of Opelika, and the City of Miami Beach also have designated brownfield areas. Some of the incentives available to clean and redevelop properties located within a designated brownfield zone include these. The Miami-Dade County Durham office will waive the $925 fee to review environmental site assessment reports on Phase 1 and Phase 2 ESAs. There is a federal income tax relief where environmental cleanup costs are fully deductible in the year they are incurred. This is not a tax credit, but reduces your tax burden indirectly by lowering taxable income. The property must be used for income-generating purposes. There is a state sales tax exemption for building materials used in construction of a housing or mixed-use project. The exemption is received through a refund of previously paid taxes by applying to the Department of Revenue. There is a voluntary cleanup tax credit which provides relief for personal property taxes or corporate income taxes for 35% of the cost of voluntary cleanup. Enterprise Florida offers a brownfield redevelopment bonus refund providing up to $2,500 per new job created in the brownfield zone. At least 10 new full-time jobs with benefits must be created and other requirements apply. Low-interest loans and a loan guarantee program are available from the Brownfield Loan Trust Fund, administered by the Office of Tourism, Trade, and Economic Development. There is a Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund with eligible activities including excavating and disposal of underground storage tanks, capping of wells, excavation, removal, and disposal of contaminated soil or sediments, tunnel demolition, and well abandonment. And finally, there is liability protection for the person or entity responsible for brownfield cleanup and lenders. This protects those who have not caused or contributed to the contamination of a brownfield site and are eligible to participate in the state brownfield rehabilitation program. A brownfield redevelopment zone committee will be created and serve to review proposals for brownfield site cleanup and redevelopment. The person responsible for brownfield site rehabilitation must enter into agreement with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection if actual contamination exists at the site. The state requires that the Brownfield Redevelopment Zone Committee review these plans. There is no implication of contamination for a brownfield site or a brownfield zone. That can only be determined through a Phase 1 or a Phase 2 environmental site assessment. The Homestead Brownfield Redevelopment Zone designation does not affect zoning or change property values. If a site is not contaminated, it will not be affected by the program, but may still take advantage of some redevelopment incentives for the area. Any property owner within the area proposed for designation may request in writing to have his or her property removed from the Brownfield Redevelopment Zone. The city shall grant the request. Letters should be addressed to Rick Stouts, Director of the Community Redevelopment Agency, at 790 North Homestead Boulevard, Homestead, Florida 33030, and I can also be contacted to answer questions. My number is 305-224-4487.
Thank you very much. Any comments from council? This is the second reading. If not, I'll open a public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? Yes, sir. No. You need to come to the mic and give us your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Mayor and council members.
Give us your name and address.
My name is Frank Ryan, and my home address is 2380 Southeast 7th Place. The question I have is, how does an area get to be a brownfield area? I mean, where did it come from? I mean, from what I see, I don't know too much about this, but what I hear is that I guess they're going to come in, whether they're going to inspect your property or whatever. And if you fall, I've been through something like this with removing gasoline tanks in my property. And I'd like to know how this can happen. Is this a good thing or is it a bad thing? I mean, how do we pick out an area and say you're subject to whatever you want to do to me? That's all I have to say. I don't know too much about this. I have to get more into it and see if this is a good thing for me or a bad thing.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Stout, would you respond to his?
Yes. The way an area becomes a brownfield redevelopment zone, sir, is it must be one of already 3 areas. Has to already be either all of or part of a community redevelopment area, all of or part of a state enterprise zone, or all of or part of a federal empowerment zone. It cannot be inside an area other than one of those 3 designations. And the area that we're talking about is a community redevelopment area. So that's how it can be there. The difference between what most people think of as a brownfield site and this brownfield zone is this. A brownfield zone is a geographic area which contains some sites that may have contamination or may be perceived as having contamination. Nothing in this is in any way saying that this whole area is full of contaminated sites or that every site in that zone is contaminated. Secondly, the program does not provide for, nor does the city or the CRA intend to undertake any inspection of anybody's properties as part of this process. That's not our function in operation. I mean, we don't do those kinds of things. First of all, we're not qualified to do it. That's a DERM function, and they typically handle that sort of thing. The reason for this is to provide incentives within the community redevelopment area for those who wish to redevelop properties in that community redevelopment area through economic development opportunities and through, in those rare cases where there is contamination in property, funding to assist in the cleanup and waivers of certain costs by DERM to assist in keeping the cost of that down as much as possible. We will be able to set up a revolving loan fund to assist businesses that need to do cleanup with low interest loans. We can even get some grants to do certain types of testing and minimal remediation. These are things that will become available if we establish this zone for those few properties in the zone that are contaminated. But some of the other benefits of that zone become available to every property owner or business owner within that zone if they meet the qualifications. As Satya explained, any business that creates 10 or more new jobs can have a tax credit of $2,500 per new job if they create 10 or more. You don't have to be on a contaminated site to have that opportunity to participate in that tax credit. Nothing prevents DERM anytime, any place from requiring somebody to do a phase one evaluation of their property. In fact, in most cases, if you finance property lately with a bank, they've required you to do it. And guess what? Those professionals who do those phase one reviews for the bank, part of their certification and part of their licensing requirements are they turn those over to DERM. So guess what? When you finance property through a bank, DERM knows the results of that phase one evaluation that took place. So we're not requiring anything as part of this from any property owner. We're not going to reduce anybody's property values. We're not going to make anybody clean up anything that is now contaminated. We're not going to make somebody go dig up tanks out of the ground. Those aren't functions of the CRA nor the Brownfield Redevelopment Zone. Was there another question?
Excuse me, we need you to go to the microphone, please. Thank you.
No, the question I had was, I think you answered some of the questions. I want to know if does it devalue the property. I'd like to know if this is labeled as distressed area, this place we're in here. There's a lot of money that we're talking about. I'd like to know if this just affects the value of the property. He says no. And as far as DERM is concerned, everybody knows that you have to go through DERM, you want to get financing, but I just want to see if this area is distressed or is it federally grants or why this particular area. You says 10 areas in the state of Florida has been designated brownfield areas. How do you pick it out? I mean, where did it come from? I mean, they just threw a dart on the map and they said this area? So, I mean, I just like that question in. How did that come about, these 10 areas in Florida? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, maybe I can answer this particular question. The Brownfield program is something that is authorized by the state of Florida, which is available to any communities that have... Hello? Hi. It's okay. The Brownfield program is something that's been authorized by the state of Florida and is available to any community that has land that meets the criteria that was outlined earlier by the staff. The reason that this is being done in this particular area is because the staff feels the city feels that it will help in the redevelopment of this property. The program is open to any community in Florida that has property within one of these areas that meets the other criteria. And the city is being very aggressive in terms of trying to spur economic development within this area. And so thus by giving it this designation, there are various incentives which have been outlined that make it easier and less expensive to develop in this area. You also have the option, if after you look at it, that you don't feel comfortable with it, by providing notice to the city, you can opt out of this program and your property won't be affected by it at all. So you have time to look at it, and are there any time limits on the opt-out provision, Rick?
No.
Okay, anytime you want to opt out, you can just do that, but it's open to everybody in the state, and the city is just always looking for ways to encourage economic development, and this is a program that they feel will help to do that. I hope that's helpful.
Any other public comments? Mr. Porter?
Mr. Stotts, now let me ask you a couple of questions, because in the CRA, there are currently junkyards. The railroad system currently runs through that area. There is there's a certain number of fuel systems in that area that transport fuel. There are a certain number of systems that used to be chemical companies in that area. So from my perspective, there is probably a likelihood that there's going to be a cleanup issue and we're dealing with the cleanup issue on the railroad system now. And it's not, is it in the CRA?
Yes.
It is. So, I mean, the thing is, if this is a tool that would generate some support for the current owners and or the future owners of any of those properties, knowing that they could be separated out, it does not hinder the entire area, but it gives those areas that we're relatively sure of or relatively confident there may be some cleanup, to what level no one really knows, but there would probably be some cleanup as we are experiencing right now with some properties that we bought from FEC, correct?
Correct.
So from the question where is there a benefit, certainly I see it as a benefit to those owners, current and future, that will find themselves in a cleanup position as we find ourselves in with those properties. Although at this particular point, we don't have the advantage, I don't believe, of being able to opt into some of those goodies that you were brought up. But I think that it's really a very creative way to deal with the problems current and the problems future that are going to be experienced in the redevelopment area. And I hope that that the public, and I hope the public can understand what I think you're trying to do, or SAFIA and CRA is trying to do with this brownfield, not to label it as a black eye, so to speak. But the redevelopment area already is considered to be a blighted area by its own definition. So you're seeing the redeveloped area take on a whole nother flavor and is becoming a very viable area just in property values alone. So I think that, I hope that the community can embrace this concept and through the debate try to work its way to where it understands this is not another or a way of government intervention, so to speak. It's really a tool, I think, that will help us in what I see as our future challenges in this particular area. And that's the way I see it. That's the way I read the information that you're talking about.
That's correct, and we are producing a brochure. This is a draft copy. It'll be a nicer reproduction on better paper, but we will be producing a brochure that will be distributed throughout the community, particularly in the redevelopment area, about the brownfield program and the opportunities that it does provide to the different businesses and the property owners. It even provides benefits to those who want to do housing for affordable housing within the brownfield area. I mean, there's a wide range of benefits available.
Well, and as to follow up, I think, on what the attorney said, anyone that doesn't want this to be part of their property can obviously say that they don't want to be involved, but then they forego the ability, if there is an opportunity where Durham finds a scenario where they have some sort of contaminant, they're on their own.
They're on their own.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Got one.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Mr. Hodge?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to interject on something that Mr. Porter said, and you know, when he mentioned, you know, the government intervention. I would like to think of it as it is government intervention, but not in a negative way, but in a positive way. We have a community that needs nurturing. And I think Rick has done a great job of working real hard and nurturing and helping in every way and injecting the city in what ways that he can to give nurturement to that area. And you know, and I really commend him for the hard work that he's put in the last year and a half that I've sat on council. And he's really done a great job and been very creative in coming up with ideas on nurturing this community. It is a community that needs government help, and it needs nurturing. It needs economic development. It needs new homes. It needs new jobs. It needs new buildings. It needs nice streets. It needs nice shrubbery. It needs, it's a need. And these are ways that the government can help and help nurture this community. So I want to look at it as is, you know, big brother government helping the little brother come along the way. I mean, if you again, you know, a lot of businesses are there in the Western industrial area, and we battle all the time about what we're going to sell the Park of Commerce for, and here we have a Western Park of Commerce right here that's pretty much developable, you know, but there's things that hinder it from being developed and being a great industrial area and create jobs for the community that's right there. And these are the things that we're trying to correct so that there's growth and there's positive growth in that community. So I would like to believe that it is government intervention, but it's done in a positive way. It's not to negatively impact anyone, but to give a positive impact that we may be able to grow this community and let Homestead as a whole be a great and vibrant community and not just one part of Homestead. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Hodge. Rick, let me ask you a question. If a property owner opts out and later decide they want to be a part of it, is there a time frame?
Not that I'm aware of.
I can opt out and decide later on that I want to come back into the fold?
Yes, sir. I don't know what Durham's position would be if for some reason Durham were doing a review of that property and suddenly somebody wanted into the zone. They might say, wait a minute, we're not going to sign off on them sitting out and then jumping in just because they suddenly think they've got a problem. So what Durham's position would be on the incentives, the benefits, I do not know. I would not presume to say. I suspect that they would say, but I don't know that.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments? Any other comments from the public? Close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mrs. Bell? Yes. Ms. Garner? Yes. Mr. Hodge?
Yes.
Mr. Losner?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Next item is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving and authorizing settlement of the case of Marilena Perez versus Inter-American Car Rental, Inc. and the City of Homestead, pending Miami-Dade County Circuit Court in the case of Marco Elias Gaete, Gaete, versus Inter-American Car Rental, Inc. in the City of Homestead, pending the Miami-Dade County Circuit Court providing for an effective date.
Adoption.
Move adoption by Councilman Porter. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by the Vice Mayor. Any question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving an interlocal agreement between the School Board of Miami-Dade County, and the City of Homestead for the purpose of creating the Homestead Educational Facilities Benefit District, approving the above referenced agreement, and authorizing the city manager to execute the same on behalf of the city, providing for an effective date.
I will move this one, Mayor.
Moved by the Vice Mayor, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Garner. Well, I certainly like to comment on this one, and I'd like to thank the Vice Mayor for taking on this monstrous task almost a year and a half ago. As soon as she came aboard, I appointed her to serve as the chair of the Education Committee, and this item was extremely controversial. But who would better fit to take on the challenge than the Vice Mayor? And to be very honest with you, the very first time we went before the school board, I think Councilman Losner and I and the Vice Mayor, most of us were there, and the response was not very good. I say it was
That's
not
the
good.
understatement of the night.
But we kept hope alive, and the Vice Mayor was still determined that we were going to get this thing through, and I tell you, she was steadfast and determined to bring back some schools for the people of Homestead. So I want to thank you, Vice Mayor, for your leadership. You never gave up, in spite of what Mr. Losner said, and his very thankful response to some of the board members. We made it through, so job well done.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Comments from council?
Question, Mayor.
Mr. Losner?
And I don't know, maybe the Vice Mayor or Susan, whoever worked on the agreement can tell me. And I'm looking at page 9, section 5, and the first paragraph on the top of page 9, where it talks about representatives, from which areas they're appointed, whether it be city or landowner. And I guess my concern is, and I know today, I guess it's contemplated that the developer is the owner of the majority of the lands within the EFBD would have an appointment of 2 representatives. And my concern is, or maybe it's contemplated elsewhere, there's some precedent, what happens when the pods are built out and we have residents out there? Is there a mechanism for electing those 2 representatives from among the thousands of residents that will be out there? And it talks about voting in terms of acreage proportion, and that really, I don't know how we're going to apply that in the future as things are built out. Was that?
There is a step that remains now that the interlocal agreement is being fully executed with your vote this evening, and that is to move forward and organize the first meeting of the EFBD and get down to the nuts and bolts. As you say, it's not an issue currently. They are able to come up with the initial representatives, and the board that governs the EFBD contains a majority representation from the various governmental entities. That board will be looking at those issues as they arise.
Okay. And my other question, thank you, I guess it gets to some bylaws or policies and procedures to do the appointment.
Right.
Page 11 of the agreement, section 7, which talks about 3 K-8 schools shall be constructed upon donation of sites acceptable to the school board. Does that cut the city out of zoning and site planning control? I mean, clearly, I know, at this point, within the DRI, we have designated school sites. Does that paragraph trump any of that? And I know, the prevailing thought seems to be, and I guess the actual practice is that once property is conveyed to the school board, we don't have any site plan review. We have no building and zoning oversight on construction. And, I guess my primary question was that, does that trump any sites that we've designated within the DR? And I'm assuming that the EFBD covers the remainder of the current DRI, or the unbuilt out portions.
The EFPD does include Keysgate as well as areas outside of the DRI. This issue was explicitly discussed by the various parties, and it was agreed that the location of the sites is yet to be determined. I think what this section addresses is the ability to do a school on the site that is selected, that it meets the needs of being used for an educational facility.
Just the literal reading talks about acceptable to the school board and the donor, and it seems to, on its face, cut out the city of having a part in that process.
No, the city absolutely has a part in the process, but part of it is to prevent problems. Let's just say, we say, okay, we want to put a school in a certain place that's very, very bad for children, and the school board would step in and say, well, you can't put it right here next to contender votes, if you will. You can't put it right here next to contender votes. There's fumes, you can't do it here, hypothetically, or it can't go here. So it's just kind of put in there as a protection. Charles and I addressed that as well, and Susan can probably clarify that even a little more.
Well, and the other part of your question was the ability of the local government to address the actual school facility planning. And both through the separate interlocal agreement that we have with the school board and the county and all the other non-exempt cities in Dade County, we do have a coordination mechanism by which we can comment on the development of school facilities. And in fact, Chapter 1013 does provide some room for the cities to review and condition the approval of school site plans. So we will be a part of that process.
Clearly traffic and the flow and ingress and egress is just a huge top of the page issue here. I don't want to, let's be sure that we have a grip on that. And I guess my final comment would be is that I think probably it would be beneficial at some point when we have this televised meeting to have some nice legible charts for us to read and for those at home here and at home watching, so we can clearly see where the boundaries of the EFBD lie, and we can name by development pod, whatever it may be, who's in, who's out. I mean, there's a lot of misinformation and genuine misconception out there, and I think it'd probably go a long way if we would invest in, when we have one of those rare nights where we have a light agenda, that we can take a decent amount of time and do that comprehensive presentation on the boundaries and who's in, who's out, and maybe even identify some of the school sites if we're that far along. Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Losner. And before I forget, Vice Mayor, I think it's appropriate that we recognize school board member, our newly elected school board member, at some meeting, Vice Mayor. Evelyn Greer.
I have invited her.
We have lunch with her.
For her invaluable support of this effort. I mean, she did an incredible job, and I think the people of Homestead should know that, and she certainly needs to be recognized at the earliest possible time. Just a tremendous supporter for the EFBD, and she deserves to be recognized.
Absolutely, and I have invited her to council, and I told her to please let us know when she does come to council so that we can recognize her and put her on the top of the agenda.
Very good.
And I have actually just emailed her last week about that as well, and she was of monumental support to us. She was very, very good.
Mayor, comment?
Yes.
I just wanted to point out, on page 15, under disclosure, we've had so many issues with people not being disclosed of things, and I think this is really good. They put in here that when the person is going to buy the property, immediately prior to the space reserved in the contract for the signature of the purchaser, there's going to be a disclosure in bold-face and conspicuous type, which is larger than the type of the remaining text of the contract. So it's going to be sign on the dotted line, immediately bold underneath, you are part of the EFBD, and they're going to disclose to you what you're going to be paying. And they're also going to try to put that into the deed or other instrument of chain of title. So these people are going to know what they're getting into, so we're not going to have a problem with that, and I think that's excellent.
And I'll tell you, Councilwoman Garner, Commissioner Natasha Sejas,
Sweetheart Sejas,
was very specific about making sure it was bold and clearly stated as a disclosure item, and we thought that she didn't vote for it, but that was very timely that she made that comment, because it was very important that everyone is aware of what's going on here. And
And Mayor, if I will, we also wanted it bold, very, very bold and very large font, because I didn't want to have 250 people in the back of this council chamber screaming that they didn't get proper disclosure on the EFBD. So we thought about that to spare all of us sitting here tonight.
Very good. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? Well, let's give the Vice Mayor another round of applause for
I'd like to also thank Susan. She was very invaluable. Her help was wonderful as well. We haven't voted yet.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Hodge?
Yes.
Mr. Losner?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mrs. Bell?
Yes.
Ms. Gardner?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes. Most of you realize at the last council meeting, we were presented some federal dollars by our Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart, and we certainly thanked him for his support in Washington. For the last 2 years, we've accumulated about $1.8 million from the federal government, the largest, I would say, and probably one of the largest federal dollars in the history of the city in 2 years. What we did not share, we may have shared with the community that we have a firm in Washington, Al-Qaeda and Faye, who represents us extremely well, and as a representative in the audience, a good friend of the community, the architect of the efforts that we bring forth around June of each year, the manager and I, and we go up there, and Mr. Alfonso Lopez is in the audience. And why don't you stand up and let the community see? And he works for Al-Qaeda and Faye, and let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, just a tremendous job. And he's here today, and he talked with every one of the elected officials and the staff about priorities in Washington for the people of Homestead for the coming months. And we're expecting some good things again. We're expecting some good things as a result of his hard work and his firm hard work, and certainly our congressional representatives. So thank you very much, sir, for being here this evening.
Mr. Mayor, just before you, I just would, I don't need to tell you all about the fine work that Susan Trevarthen does, for the city. I would like to tell you that this year, 5 members of our firm were up for partnership, and it is not easy to become a partner in our firm. And Susan was selected as the only new partner. We're very, obviously very pleased with that, and she certainly, I don't need to tell you that she deserves it.
Wonderful.
But, David wanted to make me very sure that I mentioned that.
Congratulations, Susan. Vice Mayor.
Richard, that is so wonderful. Let me tell you, everything that came to us on the EFBD, I said, please send everything to Susan so she can clean it up. And this is school board attorneys, county attorneys, everything going back and forth. And the changes that she would make, and this is no slam on the school board attorneys and county attorneys, and even the builders attorneys and everything, and she would clean it up, and I would think, everything, I wanted every single piece that came to us to go through Susan, and she was very wonderful, very invaluable, and was at all of the school board meetings and county commission meetings right along with us. So I just say, hear, hear.
We were particularly happy because you remember I don't know if several of you were aware, a couple of years ago, we almost lost Susan when they offered her the position as the senior attorney for the Department of Community Affairs in Tallahassee. And we convinced Susan to stay. Am I wrong? I'm right. And
well, I hope did you give her a raise?
I think Susan's happy. And so, that was a couple of years ago, so we felt very lucky to keep her, and this is just something that she deserves and that we were very, very happy to do.
Fabulous.
Well, congratulations again, sir.
Congratulations.
Business from the city manager.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council, I have a couple of items. One, you notice Marlene Volkert's not here tonight, but she became a grandmother today. So she was in West Palm Beach. Told her to be back tomorrow, though, but just kidding. But she has a new grandson. So
Congratulations.
that's where Marlene is tonight.
Yes.
Secondly, we also have a new deputy clerk, city clerk. Her first day on the job, she gets to come to a council meeting. And that's Chrissy Gutzman there behind the computer screen over there. So we welcome Chrissy aboard. I have a real quick couple of items. One, as you know, the city conducts a Citizens Academy. We're getting ready to recruit now for our third Citizens Academy. They've been well received by the people who have attended. Basically, our Citizens Academy is I guess a joint program between Florida International University and the city to present a course in Government 101, so to speak. We have FIU comes in and gives the academic take on government and a lot of other information that they put out as well, very interesting. And the city comes in with its staff and talks about how the city works. And theoretically, they're supposed to match pretty well. Sometimes they do, sometimes need to match them a little better, but we have, it's an 8-week program. It's one night a week from 6:30 to 8:30. And we'll be starting this academy in mid-April, and we're asking for anyone that's interested to please contact Lillian Delgado at 305-224-4415 for an application. Again, that's Lillian Delgado at 305-224-4415 to get an application. You can also go online, if you have that capability, to www.cityofhomestead.com, and the application is on our website. And we are now recruiting to get people in and interested. It usually fills up pretty quick, so don't waste your time putting in the application. Get it in as soon as possible. Secondly, there is a service that's now being provided at the YMCA for free income tax assistance for taxpayers that are moderate income. You cannot exceed $36,000 a year, and it will be put on at the Homestead YMCA, which is right there at Campbell and US 1, 1034 Northeast 8th Street. It's from February 5th, so it's ongoing through April 9th. It's Saturdays only from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's sponsored by the IRS, VITA, and the City of Homestead Mayor's Office for income tax assistance. So that's, again, $36,000. You can't exceed $36,000 to get the free income tax assistance. And lastly, as you know, March 4th and 6th, we're going to have the Toyota Indy 300 out at the racetrack. And so a reminder to citizens of Homestead, you can get 15% discount off your tickets. So if you don't know that, but now that's part of the contract that we have with the racetrack, that citizens can get 15% off or discount on their tickets. And you can do that by calling Homestead Miami Speedway 305-230, it's RACE, so 305-230 RACE, and that RACE is 7223 numerically, 7223. So you can get more details and ordering your tickets by calling that number. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Manager. Councilwoman Garner.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not sure if I should address this to Mr. Barea or Mr. Infrastructure. The section of farm life between Palm and North Canal that Mr. LaPrade and Development Services just got striped for us doesn't have any speed limit signs. And I know the police department's put the red flashing speed light out there pretty often lately, but if we could just get a speed limit sign maybe on each side of the stop sign, just north of Palm Drive and just south of South Canal, I think that would help out a lot over there. And just one other thing, Saturday night we had a meeting here in City Hall. It was for the residents of Portofino Bay and Portofino Estates, and we had a couple other groups here. I think there were some Floridian Bay people. And I just wanted to thank Captain Kennedy and Officer Patterson. They came here and discussed public safety and crime watch. Cliff did an excellent job. council chambers were actually full, and I was very impressed with the turnout from that community. And Mike Shahada was there, and Sharon was here, so I just want to thank everybody who came, because it was a really good meeting, and Miss Mary Beth Weathers put it together, and I'm hoping that I can help all of you out, and we can resolve some of those issues there. Thank you, Mayor.
Did you get an update on the lighting in that same area? Were you asking for the speed?
Charles was discussing it.
We're still talking and discussing about the lighting with the developer, and it is FP&L territory, so that's some of the problem.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Losner?
Thank you. One item, Mr. Manager. I spoke with Charles about this earlier today. You know, when we enacted the lighting standards, we also enacted the street signage standards, and there's some developments that I have that have not installed our signage that I have questions as to whether or not they should, and if we could just follow up and monitor that, as well as the lighting standards that we've adopted, and if we could also, I think it's almost time that the sunset is running out on the commercial paint standards for the grandfathering. I believe that will be March or May.
I believe it's May. I'm not 100% certain. It does begin with an M. It is either March or May. But I believe it's May.
Can't go wrong with those two.
Either, sit down and see how we want to proceed. I know when we enacted that, there was quite a bit of discussion about putting burden on people immediately to comply, and I think we did agree on would be a three-year time frame. It was adopted in early '02, and we could just put that on the back burner and kind of slide it a little forward and begin to decide where we want to go with that.
Yeah, and just a reminder, there is additional time period for the multifamily and those items that were brought on this past year.
Right, this is only the commercial standards that we enacted almost 3 years ago.
That is correct.
I understand that.
That is this year.
That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Losner. Is there an update on the Park of Commerce negotiations? We had a February 11th deadline. You're extending that deadline?
Well, I don't know, I had our council assistant, Ms. Sullivan, circulate an email that we were awaiting the proposal from the other party, and that's the delay, the settlement issues that tied in with the Park of Commerce. And, we were expecting something along those timelines, and apparently they have identified new issues that they'd like to address that are within that agreement. It's a very complex and far-reaching agreement, and we want to be sure that all of those loose ends are tied up. So that I did circulate that, I guess, today, that was the reason that we were waiting for their final proposal.
And the other concern would be with the annexation. Do we have the resources available to move at the next level to make sure we get this annexation, the 60 acres that...
Well, the next one is the Planning Advisory Board, if I'm not mistaken. Again, we have Mitch Bierman working with us from Weiss Serota. We have Charles, we have Henry Eiler also representing us. We made it through the last committee. Of course, we have a whole host of people who probably don't want to see us do it that also have competing interests. That would be a way of saying that. I guess at the next monthly meeting, we're supposed to be on the planning. I'm sorry, what was the date again?
The 7th.
The 7th.
What's the name of this committee?
Planning Advisory Board.
It's the one step before going to full commission.
That's just a recommendation.
That's a recommendation.
Kill it at that point.
Right. That's a recommendation.
Mr. Mayor, I'm aware of the question that you're asking, and I've spoken to Mitch Bierman about it, and we are going to monitor it very closely, and if we feel like we need to bring additional outside resources to bear on the issue, we will. Mitch wanted to wait and see what happened at the PAB and start to meet with people and so forth and so on. But we're aware of the issue. We've discussed it with Kurt, and if we feel like we need to bring some additional political help on, we will. And we'll, if we have to have a special call to do that, we do, but we're aware of the issue and are watching it very carefully.
Because, I think it's very significant. If we lose out on this, it's going to impact any future opportunities that we are hoping to bring forth at some date. So we need to win this one. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Loughlin?
No, thank you.
Mr. Porter?
You need to go get Mr. Hodge. You skip Mr. Hodge.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hodge.
What you get for being late?
Mr. Hodge.
It took me by surprise.
That's fine, no problem. I like being last. I really only have one thing I just wanted to announce. Most people know that I'm executive board member of Defiant, and Defiant is basically a drug-free youth in our town. And they started here in Homestead High School, and they have a program there. They have a program at South Dade, and we just recently put one in Keysgate with the help of some of the local developers. They are going to be having a fundraising golf tournament on March the 21st. It's going to be at the Deering Bay Yacht and Country Club in Clark Gables, Florida. And if anyone's in the sod business, that'll be, anytime after that would be a good day to go and solicit for business after I've been there. So, I do have brochures and applications here if anybody wants some, and then if it's okay, I'm going to leave some in the manager's window for you to pick up in the future in the event that you want to participate. I do ask that, help out. They've been a great help in the community. They work with a lot of kids in our community, and there's a lot of negative things been put out about Homestead High School, but I want you to know Homestead High School was #1 in community hours in the Defiant group. They did over 14,000 community hours within Defiant, and just this organization alone. So, there is a lot of good things that they do with our kids, and a lot of great programming that they have for them, a lot of great opportunities, and the kids actually commit themselves to be drug-free, and throughout the year they test them at will, a couple of times throughout the year, just to make sure, and they have a 99% drug-free rate. So it's excellent. It's a great program. So I just ask that, individuals in the community that's going to be listening, or the ones that are here now, to participate and protect me from tearing up the people's side when we get out there on March. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hodge. Mr. Porter?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of comments. I guess, first of all, let me direct this to Mike or Julio. I'm going to put in a formal request tonight for us to initiate conversation with the county to get in a red light at what is now the future BJ's site. Because maybe if we start now, by the time they get the building built, we might be able to have a stoplight there. Because I think if you look at that intersection right now, it's outgrown the ability to function effectively as a four-way stop sign. So that's my first official request. Let's start the ball rolling now, because it may take a while. But I know we have a series of meetings set up with the county in regards specifically to the 328 improvement, fast tracking all that. But one of the things that, even if we can fast track this to the level that would be acceptable to this council, that four-way intersection is not going to live much longer effectively. It's really a problem right now. So can I put that on the front burner? Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. Porter, your request is very timely, and by the way, your call the other day to the assistant county manager helped a great deal. We have a meeting tomorrow morning with the guy in charge of capital projects, and on the 24th we also have a meeting with the assistant county manager to discuss the same issue, and we will definitely bring the traffic light into consideration, and I will have to review the traffic study. Hopefully it called for it, so it simplifies our life, but we definitely would take care of it.
Well, as you guys individually meet, and hopefully at some point in time I can meet with some of the same people, that we send that message on an ongoing basis, that is not adequate, and it will. I mean, it's not adequate now. It's going to be a problem. I mean, certain times of the day you'll see people backed all the way up eastbound to the turnpike, which is, you know, maybe 75 or 100 cars, and people don't navigate those. Not everyone navigates the four-way stops like they're supposed to. So I think it's something that we need to start looking at right now. So that's really my only request. And BJ's is going to increase a lot of additional traffic to what's already there. So I just ask you to take that message forward. That's all I had there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. While you have the floor, with the construction on the turnpike, I was under the impression they were adding a lane.
Me too.
I hear they're putting guardrails up. What's the justification for that?
That is a state mandated rule because they had so many accidents that crossed over. Because I was just like all of you guys, was very excited to see the progress, but when we called the Turnpike Authority, they're rushing to get guardrails in. That's all it is. So it's I don't have another answer other than doing a lot of work to put in guardrails.
Might as well put some asphalt down with it, right?
Mike, you had.
I think we were all under the same impression, Mr. Mayor, and we discussed it with Johnny Martinez, me, Kurt, and Julio in a visit to District 6, and we brought up the issue with additional lanes and turnpike. According to their studies, are not warranted yet, but unfortunately, they normally react versus plan for things. And Mr. Borton explained it very well in regard to the guardrails.
Well, let me just say, Mayor, one of the things that through your vision to create this infrastructure committee, what we've tried to do internally to start this ball rolling is get staff and developer and some of the bigger generators of traffic to all sit at the table and individually grow as a group that would say we need an improvement on this road. And it would come from all the developers showing their need through the housing initiative, whether it be the Speedway coming in, whether it be Homestead Hospital coming in, all these efforts going singularly to the different players, whether it be the Turnpike Authority, FDOT, Miami-Dade County. And currently at this particular point, we don't have any really tremendous information back. We're getting the ball rolling rapidly with the county, specifically with the 328 improvement, because that's the last extremely underdeveloped roadway, east-west connector, assuming that Campbell is going to be, finished one day. And 344 has been used so much, it's almost going to have to be replaced when we're through. So, but that's been the main objective right now, to get the county to come to the table to the realization that we really do have a significant problem with 328, because in the NPO's plan, the planning agency for Miami-Dade County, that project is about a 10-year build out. And at 10 years, they don't even address the portion that continues all the way out to 137 to the east. So currently, what's kind of disturbing is they're actually studying right now to figure out a way to do out to 137 in a 2-lane. And I think through the infrastructure discussions that we've had, we're absolutely opposed to that. And we're going to take that message forward. But we do have some friends that are going to work with us, and we anticipate through this committee to bring back some very significant information in the very near future with regards to the county's position. We have made some friendly contacts. We have some friends. We have a lot of friends, but we have specific friends that I think they're going to come to the table and help us. And our goal is to take that 328 project, condense it into something that's livable for this community. And I don't believe 10 years is going to be a livable scenario for us to have to wait for that type of improvement. Mayor Wallace has even expressed his concern for maybe even helping with the extension of that project all the way out to Redland Road, which would do a significant improvement because the community is growing out to the west as well, not just to the east. So And the Mayor Wallace has wanted some support with that as well, so we're going to definitely ask for his support. We'll give him our support. So there's a lot of things going on. I wish it was going faster, but it's a significant challenge, and I thank you very much for giving it to me.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Vice Mayor Bell?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, of course, one of the things I had on my agenda to discuss was the EFBD, but I think we've pretty much taken care of that. I noticed when Kamitra was speaking earlier from We Care that she mentioned the rape treatment center that is now at Jackson South, which is the old Deering Hospital. That was a really, really important step, and I went to the ribbon cutting groundbreaking ceremony for that because, I hope everybody was really listening to that for a woman who was assaulted down south, she would have to travel all the way to Jackson to get any type of treatment, and most women are just going to forego that. So that I just wanted to mention that to you again on how important that was and what a great ribbon cutting ceremony that was. It's very, very important to the women in the community. Also, I wanted to congratulate, this must be the night for Sue's, because I want to congratulate Sue Newman because I see that she's a businesswoman of the year, and I want to congratulate, that's two Sue's that get congratulated tonight. She's on a P&Z board and out and about in the community, so congratulations, Susan. And I also wanted to say that I'm a new member of the Military Affairs Committee of the Chamber of Commerce, so I'm very excited about that. And just wanted to let you know I'll be attending the Military Affairs Committee. Mr. Porter does, and also Mr. Losner is a member of the committee as well. So we'll have good representation on the Military Affairs Committee from our city. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Under my business is appointment of Mary Lou Stalinsky, Bernice Radazak, Jen Helms, and Margaret Jones, whose name is not printed here, to the Special Events Committee.
Move approval, Mayor.
Move approval by Councilman Porter, second by Vice Mayor Bell. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? I'd also like to thank Rosemary Fuller, who chairs the Human Relations Board, and Marlene Balker from the staff for putting together that community forum with the principal and representative from the school board, the parents, and all the concerned citizens that reference the Homestead Senior High School. It was well attended. I think we all came away with an understanding that the commitment is there from the superintendent's office to provide better security, to work more diligently with the curriculum, and certainly to move forward with implementing goals and objectives to really make Homestead the high school that we all hope to see in the very near future. So a lot of effort was made last Thursday. I was very pleased with the responses from the parents, the students, and certainly from the Deputy Superintendent, Dr. Hamer. All came with some good information about what they're going to do with Homestead Senior High School. So I'm looking forward to some change and certainly better security at the school. And I think with the additional 6 security officers that I think should have been there today, they made a commitment today to adding 6 more. And I think that would be very helpful. So I want to thank Rosemary and Marlene and the whole HRB committee for the community forum. I'd also like to thank Captain Bowe and the police department for sponsoring the state health and safety program there at the PAL gym last week. It was well attended, and certainly promoting health and safety throughout Miami-Dade County is a very good thing, and it was well attended, and the police department did an outstanding job. And in addition to that, a salute to Redland Elementary for highlighting their reading program and challenging the community to read, and challenging the young folks at Redland Elementary to read a book every week. And it was well-planned and well-attended program last week, so I was pleased to be there. And that's all I have. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience?
Long evening, so I better be as short as I can. Ed Powell, 2274 Southeast 27th Drive in Keysgate. month or so ago, we voted to keep the stadium. And I drive by that every day, and I look at that and I say, we should have maybe a plan, let's call it SOS, to save our stadium, to possibly have a community volunteer effort, myself, all these people that have retired, to pick up a paintbrush, to pick up a moire brush, to pick up something, and maybe work with the city to volunteer to fix up our stadium. 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a week, couple days a week, couple days a month. If that would work out from a liability issue, we could turn that into a great community project. We'd have something that the whole community could grab hold of and give back to the community in terms of all the retirees that I know that sit at home saying, I wish I had something to do. Well, if we could get that started, I would love to spearhead the volunteer part of that and get all these old people with all these old skills and crafts, get them out there and get them to work. So if we could make that work with the city, I would love to see that get started, and I would be the first one to get out there with a brush.
Fantastic. I will certainly ask the staff to share that with Councilwoman Wallman, because I think she's looking at what it's going to take to bring the stadium back up to par, and I'm sure she would welcome your help. We would really welcome. I thank you for that. Good idea. Good idea. Any other comments? If not, thank you all very much for coming. Meeting is adjourned.
This guy and this guy, you get it.